Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Devontae Colonel, joining you on another episode here at the Inspired Challenge podcast. And today we have one.
Evangelos Barnias.
Yes, folks. So this episode here is going to be an interesting one because talking to Evangelos, so we met at a business networking event where we were both there. He was with his crew. I was rolling solo dolo. It was my first time unveiling the Inspired Challenge podcast t-shirt in a public format. And the man was like, yeah, I'm down for it. Cool, whatever. He was just super chill about it. And so we're gonna be getting into his story of like the environment that he came from, the challenges that he's faced, and just how he navigated that. And you guys, this man is a Greek gangster right now, and you know it's true because when a man's anger is replaced by just a calm stoicism, that's how you know that full maturity has been reached. So let's go ahead and jump straight into this. Actually, wait a second. I'm sorry. I gotta give some shout outs real quick. Wait, nope. There we go. So for those of y'all that don't know, for anybody watching on the Instagram, go ahead and hop on over to the YouTube, man. The YouTube has got the sound effects and whatnot, a better angle instead of me being cut off like this. Come over to the YouTube, Inspire Challenge Podcast. Watch over there. So we recently had the contest, and we had everybody who did the things necessary. You guys all got your money. I'm excited that you guys were able to get that. It was a blessing for me and the wife to give that to y'all. The third person who is the winner of it, there was some strangeness that was going on. I got some names that didn't match and some genders that didn't match, so I had to do a little detective work in there. And by me, I mean I required them to submit some proofs. But we got it figured out, so now it's good. But let me go ahead and stop talking about me, the podcast, and let's get into our guest here. So, Evangelos, my man, set us up and tell us about your age, where you come from, what you do for work, and take us into your story, man.
I appreciate it. First and foremost, thank you for having me. I'm 36 years old, originally born and raised in South Carolina. I've been in Florida for about a year. So I come from humble beginnings. My parents came from Greece. My mom came over in 1969. My dad came in 1976. They came to the Carolinas. Mom was in Charlotte. Dad was in Greenville, South Carolina. So about an hour and a half away. They met at a restaurant. Imagine that.
Romantic,
Greeks
old
that
school.
don't have restaurants. I mean, if you're Greek and you don't have a restaurant, you're really not that Greek. So, they met in 81, 82. They got married in 83. And then I got two older siblings. My sister was born in 85. My brother was born in 86. I was born in 87.
Oh, wow. Back to back.
Back to back.
Hey.
Yeah, parents were busy.
They were doing it before Drake, man. What?
Right. So, as far back as I can remember, we used to live in apartments. And, we did all right. My dad worked in a restaurant with his brother and my mom's family as well. She has a brother and sisters. And my aunts and uncles, we all have restaurants, man. That's what we did. So, my dad grew up, they eventually got a restaurant of their own in North Carolina from 1991 up until 2012, 2013. My late uncle passed away in 2012. And then we transitioned to South Carolina. We have a restaurant there now currently. We've been there for 9 years. But yeah, as I was growing up, that's what my parents did, restaurant work. Now, it wasn't always great. You know what I mean? Like when I was young, before I could remember, and my mom told me this, she's like, there were some days we didn't have food to eat. We didn't have milk, you know, and like we were, struggling to get by. So people coming, my parents coming from another country to America, they don't have nothing to prove to anybody else but themselves. Like they burned the boats. When they got off the plane, they burned the boats. They're like, we have to make it. We're here for a better life.
That's it. No turning back.
My dad's dad passed away when he was 13 years old. So when he got here in 1976, my other grandpas, they took care of him, you know what I'm saying? And my dad's been in the restaurant for 40, 45, almost 50 years now. That's all he's ever known. Hardworking man,
Wow.
like I give my hat off to him. Like,
wow.
he's a backbone, and like I'm getting emotional because he's gone through it. And I look up to that man. And it's just, for what he did, the courage that he had to come here to America and build what we have now, that shows his true character, and like I said, my hat goes off to my dad and my mom for doing that and raising us up. And, they taught us the right way, so I'm an honest person. I live an honest life, you know what I'm saying? Try and help everybody along the way. And, yeah,
man. So, as you talked about doggone restaurant business in the family, man, I can relate. I wasn't in it, but my mother's father, they had a restaurant as well, and he ran it with it was who would be my mother's stepmother, and so she grew up in that as well. Same thing. Sometimes, they were eating the food that was that the customers didn't eat, and so if they made bowls for themselves, it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. The leftovers.
Take the spring rolls that customer 7 didn't eat.
It was hard, sometimes it was like that. But it molds you into the person that you become. It makes you appreciate everything you have today, because like years ago, we didn't have that. We wished for it. We prayed for it. So when God sends it to you today, you appreciate everything that you have in your life.
Truth. So you as a kid, like who did you spend your time around growing up?
My brother, my sister, obviously, my older cousins. So I'm the youngest of, there's probably like 12 or 13 first cousins. So my mom has a pretty big family, 3 sisters and a brother. And I spent a lot of time with my cousins and my brother and sister, and they used to torment me, bro. My cousins, man. They used to not physically beat the hell out of me sometimes, but like they used to make me and my brother wrestle together, like doing like wrestling moves, like figure 4 and power bombs and all this shit.
Oh, snap! All
and,
that,
bro. We were their entertainment. You know what I mean? So,
I used to do it. Me and my older brother, we used to have 2 of our younger brothers. Basically square him up like it was the MMA and whatnot.
Yeah,
and
for entertainment.
I would be the coach for one, and he would be the coach for other.
Right.
Oh man.
But there again, like what we go through is what we grow through. So like it hardened us up. Like we were little boys, you know what I'm saying? And then like enduring pain and be like, get up and shake it off. Like that's how life is. Life hits you when you least expect it.
Yeah.
And what do you got to do? You got to get up, brush it off. So it teaches you adversity, how to be strong. We need more strong young men these days.
100%. So speaking of adversity and whatnot, what was as a young man, whether high school, middle school, anything, what was the first kind of big step of adversity that you faced? where your grit was really tested in there?
So in middle school, I was a chubby kid.
Mm.
I always got picked on in PE class when we were changing, we were in the locker room changing, like I always
Mm-hmm.
got picked on. And, it didn't, I didn't feel good about it. You know what I mean? So I was like, I was 12, 13 years old, didn't, was never introduced to the weight room, the exercise or whatnot. So, born in, in a restaurant, whatnot, all I did was eat. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like I had access to it. So, I really wasn't into fitness, but, I understood as I grew up, like I got into high school, I got thrown into PE. So we started lifting weights and whatnot. And then, just kind of talking to myself and, not letting other people's opinions affect who I am and what I am.
Mm.
Because, yeah, I may have looked a certain way, but that doesn't depict what goes on inside of me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't depict who I am. So, I express myself through, what's the word I'm looking for? Through like, I'm compassionate for people,
Okay.
and like, I might not physically look the best, but bro, my heart is made of gold. Like I'll give you the shirt off my back. I'll give you my sandwich and I'll go without. I've helped a lot of kids, like at the school, at the lunch tables, bro. Like, the less fortunate ones, the ones that get picked on, the ones, that don't have what we have. I'm like, you good, bro? I was like, can I sit here with you? Can I talk to you? What do you need? So I don't know. I've just always felt like I've been a helper in life. And it wasn't the easiest sitting with the non-cool kids because I was kind of in the in crowd, but I wasn't in the in crowd. So like me going over there and talking to these guys, I was looked at differently. But at the same time, I didn't give a shit. It's just who I am. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to change who I am just to fit in with a certain crowd. So, tie that back into like being, having adversity, like you just got to get over your certain obstacles in life with yourself.
Yeah. So you kind of you fortified your persona from that middle school, because in middle school you probably had some amount of that insecurity and whatnot. And then how did you go about fortifying that thing to where now you were able to go and talk to the lonely kids in school and whatnot?
I don't know. Maybe because I felt like lonely when I was a kid. My parents love me, my brother, my sister, they love me, but I always felt alone for some reason, and I could never figure it out. So I just, maybe I wasn't loved the way I needed to be loved. We all have our love language.
Yeah.
And yeah, my parents showed me love, but I always felt distance from my family. So showing that compassion to other people, it filled a certain gap that was left unfilled in my heart. You know what I mean? So like I just did it because I know what it feels like to be alone.
Yeah.
Even though like, you ever heard, I think it was Rick Ross, he said, I'm in a room full of friends, but I still feel alone.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me. And like me for myself, I felt like I never fit in anywhere. So it was hard growing up because I played with my brother and sister and my cousins and friends and whatnot, but I was like, I don't know, bro. This don't feel right. You know?
It sounds, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like your love languages are a combination of quality time and maybe acts of service. I don't know if I'm correct on that, but
Quality time, acts of service. I'm very affectionate, but to only the right people.
Yeah.
You can't give that to everybody because they'll take advantage of it.
For sure.
So be very careful. Acts of service. I love helping people out. I used to be a personal trainer. Like in the restaurant industry, that's an act of service because somebody's hungry. They come in, you make a transaction, you feed them. They're happy. You're happy. Everybody's happy. They leave with a smile. You feel good because you took care of somebody's needs. And, like act of service, personal training. Somebody has a problem, a physical problem, like I did when I was a child. And, you help somebody navigate through what they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
or um how to take on that task of eating right, working out right, taking care of your body, drinking your water, like that's an act of service.
Absolutely.
And now I'm in the finance world, so I help people grow their money.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just felt like everything that I've done is compounded interest on top. Like one was for food, one was for body. Now we're talking about finances.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I want to help people get to the next level financially because the world's hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's even harder when you're broke.
Yeah.
So, like, if I can help you out, that's an act of service. That makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to eat. We're all going to be healthy and wealthy.
And it sounds like you've got something. At a certain point in my life, I found that what was very important was to figure out what describes your life and what are essentially the pillars that you build your whole life around. And with you, it sounds like your pillars are a combination of health, and then, oh, I just had it. Oh man, my hunger's hitting me right now. But health, finance, and then service seems like what you've built kind of your life on.
Right. So, like I said, it all stems back from when I was a kid. I was young, chubby, got made fun of. We didn't have a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So those are like two big things to me.
Mm-hmm.
I got control of my health. I'm a gym nut. I go to the gym 6, 7, 8 days a week, if you would, sometimes. And it's not for the physical part of it. That's just a byproduct of what comes from actually working out.
Right.
It's more for the health.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have your health, no matter how wealthy you are, you can't enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So what if you have $8 billion in the bank? If you're laid up in a bed, what good does it do you?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be healthy, first of all. And then the physical part of it, like I said, is the byproduct of what you do. And then, just helping people financially. Like I said, the world's hard enough. It's even harder when you're broke. So, like, why shouldn't you? Like, somebody else has done it already.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. It's like, if they can do it, why can't I?
Yeah.
And when I do that, why can't I teach somebody else how to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Spread love, man. Spread joy. There's too much hate in the world already. So I try and minimize all that crap and, do it right and help people along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my acts of service, man. Like,
Love it, man.
I
love
love helping people. I'll go out of my way to do it. But you do it in the sense to where you're not taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever heard the saying, if a donkey kicks you once, it's a donkey's fault. But if a donkey kicks you twice, it's your fault. So I say that to say,
Well, I heard it from J. Cole. J. Cole said, fool me once, shame on you. No, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
right.
Fool me 3 times, forget the peace signs, load the chopper, let it rain on you.
But yeah, so like, don't be so naive to where, if somebody needs a helping hand, give them a helping hand. But don't let them take advantage of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There again, if the donkey kicks you once, it's your fault. It's a donkey's fault, but if it kicks you twice, it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
So like, have understanding of when to lend a helping hand and when somebody's taking advantage of it.
What for you acted as like different moments where you had to learn about not just being so full-heartedly open to everyone in that way?
Being taken advantage of so many times. We're all young. We all had our first love. We were all taken advantage of. Like, I had to trust my gut. There's some things in life. There's a lot of things in life, and I just experienced it a few months ago. Like, I met a girl, and my heart was like head over heels for her, and then my gut's like, bro, it ain't it. And this might be funny, but there was some red flags. that your gut's telling you.
Yeah.
But then your heart's telling you, hey, these red flags look like Six Flags. Let's go have some fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I have never heard it described
Bro.
like that. What?
So, yeah, it took me on a journey for, 2 or 3 months. And then, stuff faded away. And then, like, I finally stepped back. So when you're in something, you don't see it. When you take a step back and look inside the box from out, you understand wholeheartedly, like, bro, it wasn't it. So you got to listen to your gut, man. Basically.
So what was like as a younger man having an experience where you were taken advantage of, what was that experience, and like how did you find out about it, and then how did you handle it? What was your recovery system for it?
Oh man, the weights. So at a young age, I probably took working out seriously probably like a little bit after I got out of high school. So probably like 17, 18 years old, I started hitting the weights. And you just get this feeling when you're in the weight room that nothing or nobody else can give you. Your endorphins are flowing, you feel good about yourself. Like it's something that can't nobody take away from you. You earned it. So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I've always needed validation. I've always felt like I needed validation. You know what I'm saying? From an outside source. So that's what I was looking for. Like when I got tied up with all these women and stuff, like you wanted that validation.
Yeah.
But when it doesn't come, where do you turn to? You turn to yourself because that's all you got. So,
man, that's truth, right? Especially as young men, like that. It's insane how much a young man's sense of validity comes from the desire for a relationship. Like that is, and it's the conversation nowadays is very strange where people are like, the question may be posed, where are good men at? But man, the number of, I just know so many more guys that are dying to find a good woman that is quality, that it is worth it to put all the chips all in.
So I'm not finding nobody for myself. I'm gonna work on myself. I'm gonna build who I am, what I am, and then God will send me somebody. You don't have to look for anybody. I feel God sends us all messages in many types of ways. So when you're ready, He's going to send you the right one, and you're not going to have to look for it. Like, I'll say this to the young man: like, quit looking for a relationship. Work on yourself. Be all you can be. Put all your energy, focus it inward. Because if you give yourself that energy, then God's going to bring it back to you tenfold.
For you, I want to know how did God play a role in your life as a young man? Like, in what ways did He comfort you? In what ways was He involved when you started going to the gym as like your kind of release thing, and then in your identity? How did that?
So I would say, like, as a young boy, I went to church on Sundays. Obviously, Mom made us go. You never wanted to go to church. Like, man, I don't want to go. But like, you start to realize, like, there was a point in my life where God didn't exist in my life, and everything was going to hell. And this was probably when I was closer in my 20s, 25, 26. And then, like, I don't know what changed. I just started praying to God. Like when I was a kid, I said my prayers, but I never meant what I said. I just did them. I was going through the motions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like I felt that's what I was supposed to do. But it wasn't until probably like 25, 26, some bad things happened in my life. And I was just in a dark place. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I had no direction. I had no desire to live. So then I just started taking prayer a little bit more serious. And, I prayed to God. I asked him to get me through things. And, he continues to wake me up every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for that, because he's not done with me. And every time you open your eyes in the morning and you wonder, why am I still here? Don't worry about that. You're still here because God woke you up.
Yeah.
So you got to keep going. You're here for a reason, and he's not done with you. Because if he was, you wouldn't have woken up today.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What was like your big turnaround moment that happened at 25?
it was a relationship that I wanted so bad, and it went south. It was probably 26, 27. I met my kid's mom back in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and she lived down here in Florida. And I lived, again, like I said, I lived in South Carolina, so it was like a long distance thing.
Yeah.
And we kept in touch, but, like there were some things that didn't fall into place like I wanted them to. And, I was battling that stuff. I was like, she's the one, she's the one. And then like it wouldn't work out, or, something went south. I was leading with my heart, not my gut. You know what I'm saying? So, being, so far away, I had to figure out how to make it work. We kept in contact. She ended up moving to South Carolina, and then we was good. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't great, but it was good.
Mm.
And then we decided to move back down to Florida back in 2019. And then 2020, we had a little girl, 4 years old. She's 4 years old now. And then COVID happened. So, stuff got tense. A lot of families, a lot of shit went south for a lot of people.
COVID was bad for
Right.
a lot of relationships.
So, like obviously our relationship went south, and then I moved back home to South Carolina for like 2.5 years. And in those years, like I didn't get to see my little girl for like 2 years. And then I moved back down here last year, and here I am. But going back to the question, I don't know, man. I just put my faith in God. Like, I don't know. I can't really pinpoint it because like everything just flows all together. Sometimes it seems like, but I started praying to God, and then things just started happening for me.
Yeah. When you started to get into that thing where you were coming to God with these things, how did that change your life on a daily basis versus what you were doing before?
It's a good question. I started to become more happy. I started to look inside myself and realize, like, why are you beating yourself up? Like, what is it in your life that you're not happy about, or that you're not, like, why are you so far apart from God? Like, he wakes you up every day, be grateful, but, we're human beings, so we're greedy. We want that, we have that greed. So, like, you always want more, but sometimes you don't get it.
Yeah.
So for me, like when I woke up every day, like I pray every morning, every night now. And I just ask God to get me through the day. And then when I get home at night, right before I get into bed, I thank him for giving me this day. And I ask him to wake me up again the following day. If it's in his, if it's written in his scriptures. Because we don't know. We go to sleep today. We don't know if we're waking up tomorrow.
Yeah.
We can leave this podcast now and I drive home and get in a wreck, die. You never know.
True story.
So you got to be humble. You got to be grateful for what you have. And in my everyday life, I leave everything to God. Like he has our story written out for us. So what's going to be is going to be.
Was there any point at any time that you found yourself like, because I know you said that your relationships were, you felt lonely as a young man a lot. And so the place of comfort you found that was the gym. And then, but how did that also translate to like the people that you turned to for your comfort at that time?
Well, we're affectionate people. We're human beings. You know, we were born man and woman, and when you come together, you have that love. So, like, I would always look for that affection, you know, outside of the gym, obviously, and what's the next best thing is the woman. So, like, like I'd look for that validation or for that comfort in women, and sometimes I'd get it, sometimes I wouldn't. So then I'd step back and ask myself, I was like, what is something you can do for yourself to always feel validated? Be true to yourself, wake up, take care of your body, take care of your mind. I do yoga too, like a lot of guys, a lot of men, they're like, yoga's for girls, yoga's for sissies, yoga's for, I'm like, no, bro, like yoga's more than just yoga. It's a spiritual journey.
And also, too, guys be so dumb with this. That there's two things that a guy should pick up if one, he wants to get more physically healthy, and two, if he wants to have the opportunity to meet more women, he's yoga and dance classes.
Absolutely.
You will find so many more fit and in shape, high quality women, yoga studios and dance classes.
It shows a sense of discipline, and like, I've been in Florida for a little over a year now. I think I've been downtown like twice, maybe 2 times. I've been to a club one time. My sister came down a few months ago. It was her birthday, and then my buddy met us out, and we stepped out downtown. But like, what I'm saying is, you're not going to find your wife or your partner in a bar.
No,
They're all, those type of people. They seek attention. You know what I'm saying? And then they wake up the next day hungover. They're going to miss that yoga class in the morning where that disciplined person is. That's the people that you want to look for in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if a person has the discipline to pay money on a regular basis to go do something that is for the betterment of their health, where they are susceptible themselves possibly to like judgment of other people seeing them, watching what they're doing, all these things, like that's a place where you need to be is around other disciplined people, because when you're around people that are just kind of doing whatever and letting the liquids lead, as they would say, or as the book of Corinthians would put it, getting filled off of wine instead of getting filled off the Holy Spirit, the results that follow may be doomorous. So as you go, and did you ever get into any types of like fights or altercations, anything like that as a kid?
One in middle school. I really never got into fights. Another one in downtown. It was over something so stupid. But no, I didn't engage in fights regularly or anything like that. I never had to. I felt like I'm just a calm person, so I never really had to, engage in those types of scenarios. But I remember when I was in middle school, I was just sitting at the lunch table, and some kid just kept picking on me. I was like, "What do you want to do about it?" He's like, "Meet me at the Rock after school." So the Rock was like a huge boulder, like literally a quarter mile down the street off the school property. So we walked there, and he kind of like speared me and took me down, but like I put him in a headlock, and I was punching him in the kidneys or whatever. And there was a runner, there was an older gentleman, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Y'all quit that." So then like we just got up, and like it was literally like 20, 30-second altercation. Then we got up, and I walked home, like literally, because we lived like maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles from middle school. So I just walked the rest of the way home. But I never really got into fights. Never got into boxing, MMA, anything like that. So I mean, don't test me, but I mean, I can fight. I know how to fight.
Okay. No, I wanted to ask that because I know that So, for example, like Omar that I interviewed, we were talking, and he was telling me about how he got into some type of like mixed martial art, and that was like his thing. So, I thought that was interesting. You got into the gym, he got into like these like fighting studios and whatnot. We were talking about discipline as well. That's something huge in like the fighting studios. So I was wondering, like, oh, did you like ever compete or do anything where you were like pitting yourself against another person in that like competitive scene, pitting your wills against each other?
I've always had a competitiveness against myself. Um, so like again, when I was younger, I was a little chubby kid, and we always used to go to the supermarket with my mom, and we'd go to the magazine section. My brother and I, he would always pick up car magazines, and I always picked up bodybuilder magazines. I was just like I was attracted to that physical physique, like whoever it was on the front cover of Muscle and Fitness or whatever magazine it was. I'm like, dude, that's what I want to look like.
Right.
And why I don't know. Like I was just it sucked me into it as a kid. So like I've always wanted a physical appearance.
Yeah.
For what reason? Again, I don't know, but that's just what I desire. So, when I got older, I started hitting the gym, and then it's not just like I said, it's not the physical part of it. It's the discipline. It's who you become in the process.
Absolutely.
Because you got some kids that they can eat like a trash can, and they don't put on a pound, and they're freaking shredded. And you got people like me that look at a loaf of bread, and I put on like 7 pounds. I'm like, yo, what the hell? But everybody has their own body type. So like the competition I had against myself was me being able to discipline myself to get to my desired physique.
Yeah. And those body types, people don't know that there are 3 different body types that you have. You have, I get them mixed up because if you don't look at them, you can confuse them.
Endomorph.
Endomorphic is
my body. So I'm a mixture between an endomorph and a mesomorph.
Yeah.
I hold weight and you can put it on easily.
Yeah.
Mesomorph is a muscular type, and the ectomorph are the skinny guys.
Okay. Yeah.
That can eat whatever they want and not put on a pound.
The mesomorphs are like the perfect blends, right? That's like you can put on muscle easily, but you'll also have like a slim trim as
Right.
well. Versus the endomorphs is like you eat basically carbs and whatnot,
Right.
and then whatever else you eat with it, you're putting on that weight. I think both of us are endomorphs
Right,
in
right.
there.
Yeah, it's just our body doesn't process carbs the way an ectomorph body processes carbs.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So like it'll stick to our fat cells to whereas they use it for energy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way the digestive system works.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that like you have to you have to be aware of what type of body you have, and then you have to look at like, okay, if my body does this, how can I strategically eat in a way that if I'm going to super absorb, what am I super absorbing? Am I super absorbing fat? Am I super absorbing protein? If you're super absorbing protein, that's really good for like putting on muscle, being able to like gain like physique that can become more like either imposing or attractive. And whatnot.
Right. Muscle repair.
Absolutely.
Protein.
So you got into the interest and the curiosity of like the bodybuilding world, and that was your thing. So there was a detail that I was a little bit confused about because you said at 25 you had an experience with your child's mother, was it?
About 26 or 7.
26, 27?
So 6 years ago, about 28. So 27. Don't do this, guys. But I used to sell dope when I was younger. I mean, we're putting it all out there. So I was living downtown. I was living a lifestyle, doing whatever the hell I wanted. It was fast money. You know what I'm saying? It comes fast, it goes fast. And then so like I don't know, like I wasn't in my early 20s anymore, and I wasn't quite yet to 30, but I was past 25.
Yeah.
And then so between 25 and 30 comes 27. So that's when I gave myself a reality check. I was like, yo, bro, I was like, what are you doing with your life? So, I had to sit down and have that hard conversation because like I said, I was selling dope, just weed. I mean, I wasn't selling like hard drugs or nothing, but just weed.
Did this play at all into like the way that things ended up kind of falling apart?
No.
No.
So I quit all this stuff after I met my kid's mom.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Um, yeah, because like I said, I asked myself, what am I doing? So I started to want to live an honest life. So that's when I got into personal training.
Okay.
So I was doing personal training on the side, and I was still at the restaurant, and then we decided to move down here to to Florida. And then I got the two jobs. I was working at LA Fitness as a personal trainer, and I was working at a restaurant in Lake Mary, a Crazy Creek Kitchen. I was a server. And then COVID happened, and then I lost both of my jobs. And then so I became a stay-at-home dad, because my kid's mom, she was an ER nurse. So she went back to work because she had her job security, with all the crap that was going on. So I stayed home with our daughter from February till July, August. And then that's when she told me get my stuff and get out.
Man.
So I said, okay, I'm not going to fight it. I wanted to be there. I wanted to make things work for not only our relationship, but for our daughter. But it didn't, and that's all part of life.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep moving forward. And don't ask yourself, why me? Ask yourself, what's there to learn from this? Why, ask yourself why you're going through it, but not in the sense of playing the victim.
Yeah.
Ask yourself in the sense of trying to learn something from it.
Yeah. What is the lesson to be taken? What
Right.
is the opportunity for growth
Of course.
that comes in here? So what was your mind frame like post that, that happening, like immediately within the next 6 months to a year? I think that's where, I know myself, I was in a long-term relationship, and that first 3 months, absolute train wreck. And then it got to be about 6 months, and it's like, okay, we're doing all right. Still a lot of time spent there mentally.
Right.
And then after about a year, it's like, okay, you still go back, but now you can look in the rear view and you can start to see the lessons out.
Right.
So how was your process in there?
So immediately upon moving back to South Carolina, I wanted to make it work. I was reaching out to her, what's going on? Can we figure this out? Whatever. She kept denying me. I was like, okay, cool. So I finally came to terms with myself, we're not getting back together. And then I was seeing my daughter for, I'd travel down there every other weekend, maybe every other 3 weekends, depending on work schedule and whatnot. But then we had an altercation. So from August to May, I got to see my little girl. Well, in May we had an altercation, and then all communication stopped with my daughter. So this is where the anger came in. And, I was trying to force the hand that I was dealt, and it didn't work out. So 2 years, and I'd ask her, can I see my daughter? And she's autistic, so she has special needs. And she would deny me seeing her. She's like, how are you going to see her? How are you going to communicate with her? You don't know how to talk to her. You don't know her behaviors. Just coming up with all these excuses on these reasons that I couldn't see her. Where are you going to see her at? Well, obviously we're going to have to, figure a place out, whether it be a park or a coffee shop or a playground or something. And we never could. So this is when all the anger started. Well, fast forward, it went on for a good year and a half. And then I just turned to anger. I'd go home and cry, bro. Not being able to see my little girl, night after night, week after week, month after month. So this is when I turned back to God. I was like, yo, what are you trying to teach me? All the anger went fucking out the door. I wasn't angry no more. I was more concerned about what is there to learn from this and how can I become a better person? Because anger doesn't get you nowhere. Your blood pressure goes up, your stress levels go up. It's bad on your body. You know what I'm saying? So you're doing yourself more harm than you are good.
Yeah.
So there again, I asked what's there to learn? You know what I learned? Fucking the utmost amount of patience in the freaking world, dude. Like, that's why I'm so calm. Like, there's no ounce of anger in me whatsoever anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It does nobody no good. So, um, like I'm a calm person, and I went off track with the question, but I kind of lost my train of thought.
Oh, no, so that, I think the base question was like, how did you handle it? Which I think you did talk about that. Because I know so young men especially like have this tendency to super catastrophize the end of a
A
relationship.
breakup or something.
But then especially when you throw in a kid to it, and at like looking at everything that happened at your time, man, the sequence of it where it's COVID that leads into the decision to end things, and then now having so now the job is lost, the relationship is gone, and then the access to daughter is cut off. Like, that is so much to happen all within that quick time period.
A matter of months.
And so like the way to handle that, the coping mechanism on that is like, to me it's, I mean, I could see it too, because I mean, I think at a certain point, like we all get to a certain place where we just get hit with thing after thing. And then we're like, holy crap, I have been broken down on every level of what I thought I knew about the world, what I thought I had mastered about relationships, what I thought, I was a grinder, a hustler. Because that's another thing too, right? You got probably a lot of your identity from that sense of like you said, you like to do acts of service. When you lost your jobs, you're like, well, crap. Now I'm not able to do XYZ things as a father in there or as a husband in there. And like, one thing I'm curious about, was there was there an agreement that was like, okay, this is what you're going to do. Hey, wife, this is what I'm going to do. And was that an agreement, or was that just kind of where things ended up falling?
It just ended up where things just fell at that, into, because like it made sense. It made logical sense. So she has a job and I don't. Well, we're not going to hire a babysitter and me try and find a job, because there weren't no jobs, essential workers and stuff, construction. I did construction. I picked up a gig for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, but then they laid me off. It's like shortly after she had our little girl, like before she could go back to work, before she was released to go back to work, I was doing construction for like a month or so. But then after that, they laid me off. So she got back to work. She went to work, and I just stayed home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing, like not being able to speak to a human being, to have a conversation, and being, I don't want to say trapped, but being home 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's another battle that I had to go through. Not having a conversation with anybody, just I FaceTime her mom, she'd FaceTime me to check up on our little girl, 2-3 times a day. But I didn't speak to nobody, so like I was going crazy. And
yeah, man, why do you think I run this podcast?
I mean,
I need to have these deep conversations to keep myself from going crazy.
I'm telling, bro, I don't wish it upon nobody, dude, because like you'll go stir crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I would call people. I'd try and call people. They didn't always answer. They were, for whatever reason. But I just found myself sitting there with my little girl. Like, we'd watch cartoons, and when she fell asleep, I'd take a nap too. Like, what am I gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
The house was clean, the kitchen was clean. I was like, I'm chilling, lay
Yeah.
back, just to pass the time. So that's another thing, man. Being home, not being able to have an intelligent conversation with a grown up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it kind of man, and it's crazy because in looking at that and the responses and whatnot, like there are certain truths that I think are exemplified so well in that case scenario. And when I look at like how things with my relationship fell apart, and it's like, man, the attraction triggers for women that can go on and off like a switch. The attraction trigger of one, is he a leader? Like, is he someone that I can trust? You know, if you're in the spiritual world, is he someone that I can trust spiritually to lead me? That can be kind of my rock. Or in the secular world, can he lead me financially? You know, if God is not present, will he lead me financially? Is usually the biggest thing. And then secondly, in the spiritual world, it's can I, well, no, this is something that's universal in it, is a man's like status of ambition. So, like, for example, I am extremely confident that if I was, let's say I wasn't doing this podcast and it wasn't growing and whatnot, and I was just like chilling, I'm pretty sure my wife would be like, you know, God called you to be more than this right here.
absolutely.
You know, as she should, of course. And women, I came up with a little thought here. You can let me know what you think. There's three things that you must have in place in order to keep your woman attracted to you. You have to inspire her. You have to, what was my next one? Dang it. I haven't said it in a while, so I forgot it. In fact, I might not have ever said it on podcast before. So you have to inspire. You have to, oh my goodness, this is going to drive me crazy. But the last one is you have to make her perspire. And by that is, I mean, you have to make her sweat a little bit. And so the inspiration part, inspiration, adoration, and perspiration. Those are the three things that I think are absolutely necessary, attraction trigger wise.
Right.
The inspiration comes from when she looks at you, does she say, wow, it is so amazing either what he's overcome, it's amazing what he's doing, or I see that he has XYZ traits and characteristics that if he's not where he is right now, he can certainly get there with a little time, some encouragement, and maybe some resources. So that's the inspiration. The adoration is the part of, does she feel blessed to be with you? You know, like when she looks at you, does she say, he's all right, he's cool?
Right. Yeah.
Or does she look at you and go, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky to have this man. How did this happen? Like, and then the perspiration, this is the part that might be a little controversial. The perspiration part is, are you keeping her hormones moving? And this can be a plethora of them. This can be oxytocin, which is basically the love hormone, the physical hormone. This is your both non-sensual and sensual touches that kind of get that oxytocin going. This is the fight or flight hormones, those endorphins. So are you making her come to attention in a certain way? Not in a way that's threatening, no, never that, but in a way that is, if something is said, are you able to firmly call out something that is either disrespectful or inappropriate in a way that is not emotional, but because of your reaction, it makes them stop and go, oh, wait, something just happened. And so that's what I mean when I say the perspiration is activating those hormones that might come out when a person sweats. Because, and dopamine as well, can you, are you doing things that when she looks at, she's smiling, so that's the part where you're dating your girl, that's, the cards and the little this thing,
The
that
flowers
thing,
and chocolates.
So yeah, I'm curious to get your perspective on my inspiration, adoration, and perspiration.
No, I agree with it. You always want to inspire your woman, like you're inspired to do something. So like you put everything into it, and she appreciates that. And she trusts you enough to be feminine enough. So you're masculine enough to lead the way, and she's submissive to you. So that's what I think about the inspiration, the adoration. Of course, we all have that affection. You gotta adore your partner. What's your love language? Going back to your love language and my personal experience, like, if you adore somebody, like, what is it about them that you love so much? Like you said, like, wow, is that really my wife, or is that really my partner or my husband, whomever? Like, I'm proud to say he's mine or she's mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the perspiration part, of course, like hormones plays a huge part in all of our lives, male and female. So those have to be stimulated the right way.
Oh man,
like
and like that goes like for a wife, like for my growing population of women that watch this show. Ladies, if you're in a relationship with a guy and you're like his testosterone is just like at the ground when he sees you a lot. Like some girls, they get irritated by a guy that's like always trying to be physically involved with them. But like that is such a good sign. The parallel of the level of annoyance that a lady feels with her guy always trying to, get handsy with her. The parallel of that is a man who gets annoyed because his woman is always being so like kind of clingy, like, oh hey, I want to do this thing with you. It's this. Oh, I'm trying to go do this. Oh, but I really want to spend time with you. Oh my goodness, why are you being so clingy? Like, don't you understand? I need time with my boys. I need time with some other people that aren't you. But the best response in both of those situations is for the woman to understand, oh, wait, he's being handsy because he truly just desires me so much. He feels like I still got it like that. Like that's something that should be rejoiced in. And then similarly, for the man side, instead of saying you're so clingy, which is hurtful language, you should say, listen, I am so glad that you want to spend all this time together. I need you to understand how important it is for me that I do this thing with this group of people, right? So it's like I'm sure you've heard all that. We see it in movies. We see it, it's like the cliche thing. But these are both great things that people should be like, oh, snap, this is happening. Let me lean into that and let me handle it with good care.
Mm-hmm. You got to appreciate it when it's there.
Yeah.
Because when it's gone, you might not get it back.
It's a lot easier to keep a fire going by feeding it leaves and moss than it is to start a fire once it's been quenched.
Yeah, or with wet wood.
Yeah.
Or wet leaves.
100% protect that fire.
Absolutely.
We have some people that have been commenting along the way. So I'm gonna pull up that real quick, see what some of the response to our conversation has been here.
Let's do it.
So we've got Charlene has been going in. She says she liked the perspiration. See, she said a little bit of sweat. And then she said, haha, experienced that on my first relationship. Sadly, it did not work out nicely even though we lasted 3 years. Oh, so by the way, when it comes to the whole like handsy thing and clingy thing, I am speaking strictly in the context of marriage. If there is all the handsy and whatnot, but there ain't a ring on it, sheesh. Back up. Put a pole between. What are your thoughts on that? How strictly do you hold to the ideas of?
No, absolutely. You don't want, clinginess like outside of marriage. It's not always the best thing because that might be, that might start with childhood traumas. Like,
Ooh, that's a word right there.
did you not have that affection when you were a kid? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you being like this? Like, what's triggering you to want to be clingy? Like, what's the underlying issue that you have with yourself that maybe you haven't realized it? Because for me, like, there's a bunch of shit that I've been going through mentally, just in the past like 6 months, a year, that I'm just like, why do I do these things? Why do I do certain things? Why do I want certain things out of certain people?
Yeah.
Why do I feel the way I feel? And you just got to step back and analyze it. Like, and nobody can do that for you but yourself. Maybe if you get a therapist, they can help you out. I've never had a therapist, so, I can't speak on that. But trying to figure it out by yourself and why you do the certain things that you do is major to your growth. So, whether it's like going out, like we said, we met at the Small Business Expo. Like, I'm kind of an introvert. Like, I'll talk to somebody, but like to be the one to initiate a conversation, I'm like, like, I really don't want to.
Yeah.
But you got to get uncomfortable sometimes to go into a conversation like that. But, that's something that I've dealt with from my childhood. You know what I'm saying? That I'm still trying to deal with. Like, I've gotten a lot better. Like, we met back in 2 months ago, I think?
Yeah, about 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
So I've been to several other networking engagements, and, like, I walk into the room and I look for somebody to talk to. It's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that's how you grow in life. So, again, tying all that back into like childhood traumas, that's something, that I don't know where it came from, but it did from when I was a child. But like the clinginess and stuff, that's a childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And the way you respond to it about what you're doing says a lot about you. And it's not necessarily good or bad. I'm not saying that, but you have to figure it out about yourself and why you are the way you are.
As you're talking about this, like, the thought came into my mind that, because basically coming to understand you more, I'm seeing like these different stages of where you're at, where now, like you were telling me before we started that just last night you were with Omar that we had on the show, guys. And you guys were hanging out. So I get, growing up, what was your circle of guys like? Did you have a community of men that you spent significant time around?
Not really, man. My dad worked from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
I'm not going to say I didn't have a dad as a child because he was there. He just wasn't present, because he was a hardworking man. Not that he didn't choose, not to be present. He had to do what he had to do to provide for his family.
Yeah.
So like I could only see my dad on Saturday night, maybe Friday nights, if I stayed up late enough, Saturday nights, and then Sundays. I mean, I'm talking about Friday and Saturday nights if I stayed up till like 11 or 12 when he got home, if I could.
Yeah.
Because at such a young age, you just like knock out on the couch watching TV. But then on Sundays, he wouldn't wake up till like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon because he was just like exhausted from work. So what did I see my dad? 5, 7 hours a week?
Yeah.
So like I really didn't have a group of men. My brother was the closest person I had, but there again, he's only a year older than me. So don't really consider him a man at that stage in life. So, I mean, my older cousins, they're like 5 or 10 years my senior. Again, they were adolescents. They were in their teenage years, so didn't really have. I wouldn't consider them men at that time either.
Yeah.
So,
and then you said you went to church when they would make you go to church, but you weren't like involved in it. And nowadays, are you like, do you go to church? Are you in your Bible? Like, what's that
Oh,
look like?
absolutely. I try and go to church as much as possible. Maybe I say at least once a month. Probably 2 times a month. I try and go. Um, life gets busy, and you don't physically have to go to church to be close to God.
Mm-hmm.
My priest always told me if God's in your house, that's good enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the Lord's house to be close to God.
Mm-hmm.
And I do read the Bible, but I don't necessarily understand it. Like
That's fair. Yeah.
I was listening to Myron Golden this morning, and he was talking about, yeah, we read the Bible, but half the people don't understand what they're reading.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's me, because like I try and break it down, but I never went to Bible study. I didn't study the Bible. So I don't know how to break certain things down to learn the lessons that need
So
to be
good
taught.
what you're getting into now.
So
there's looking at the sequence of how things has moved along for you, man. What I'm seeing is this is what I see from someone who's starting to talk to so many different men in different places and whatnot. The community of men that a man has in his life on a regular basis that is good, reliable, solid peership and authorities to him is so big. Like nowadays, you do have a community of guys that you're kind of around on a regular basis. You guys went to an event recently. You were hanging out just last night. Like,
yeah.
It's totally different now. And fathers, for those of you fathers listening, and if you're with your sons right now, and my young guys right now, check it out. This is the shortcut, guys. Accelerate your maturity. 20 years worth with this. I've noticed a direct correlation between the mental and emotional maturity of a man based off of, one, does he have a community of men? The most emotionally and mentally, whether it's immature or stunted or in need of something, are not around a group of solid men. And this is so the difference here being, are these men? It's not men that you're just around, you're hanging out with, you're wasting time with, you're just around just to say you're around. This is guys who are doing something and actively building their lives. So that's one. The next thing is, and this may just be because this is my surrounding, my environment, but how active are they in their study of the word or in their relationship with God? So, you're saying you are getting back into it. You're making attempts now. You called out to him at the age of 25 to 27-ish, and you got more serious about that. And so now the big thing that I see too is like in that. So community of men, yes, and then being in that word, being in that study shit, that seeking of God. But then a huge piece of that community aspect is the mentorship part of it. This is where I think like so many of us are in need of is the mentorship. And we look at some of the biggest figures that we've got out there right now. Like I follow this guy. This is a bad plug right here. You guys don't search him up, but I watch him. I follow this guy called Brandon Carter. He's a black fitness influencer. Hilarious, but completely secular. Don't follow him, guys. And he's someone who was mentored by Tony Robbins, for example. And then he went on and he mentored Connor Murphy, which was another fitness influencer. He mentored Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit and a plethora of other guys. Austin Dunham, he's mentored. And so what I see is if you have someone that's strong in a certain aspect, like you, especially we as men, we must be seeking some type of mentorship or some type of uh, uh, earthly father that we can go to in order to pour into us. And that's the big part, is we as men need to seek to be poured into. And I think that the stunting of our potential happens because we don't actively seek to be poured into. We're thinking so much constantly about, I need to do for this person, I need to help that person, I need to provide here, I need to protect there. But then it's like, okay, good job, man, but now you're operating at a quarter of a cup. Where are you filling up from to continue doing that?
Right.
So I guess a question I would have for you then is, who is your mentor that you have in your life?
That's a great question, man. You're making me think. But I would say, so when I was about 25, 26, 27, I started reading books. And there's one book in particular that I read, and I'll go back to your question, but I'm going to build up to it. There's one particular book that I read. It's called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And it was a question asked, it says, who am I? You ask yourself, who am I? I'm Evangelos Barnias, right? Well, is that really who you are, or is that just the name that your parents gave you? So I asked the question again, like, who am I? You know, I'm a personal trainer. I own a restaurant. I'm a chef. Now I'm in finances, so I'm a financial strategist. Okay, but is that really who you are, or are those the things that you just do? Ask yourself again, like, who am I? Well, my mom and dad, Kiki and Ladish's son. They're like, those are just your parents, but like, who am I? So like, they make you like, and this is written in the book. They make you ask, do this exercise, like, ask yourself like 6 and 7 times over and over again, like, so who am I? Like, am I me that's speaking, or am I my self-conscious mind that's thinking about this stuff before I say it to exert it to the outside world? Like, who is actually doing the speaking? So it makes you think, like, who really am I? Like, what am I? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you just a soul? Are you an entity? Like, where does everything that you think come from? You know what I'm saying? And so I started reading a lot of self-help books, a lot of psychology books, self-development books, finance books. And, I just picked up from other people that have done it, that have laid the path. And then, I just try and follow it. But the person I look up to, I look up to a lot of people, like people that have, that are successful, and that I want to follow their path, because I have a big, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to do a lot of shit in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a big goal, and people, like, when I tell certain people, they're like, dude, you're crazy. They just look at me and then they laugh. Like, I'm going to be a billionaire. People like, I've never made more than like $30,000-$40,000 in a year up until now. But like, I'm going to be a billionaire. And like, people just laugh at me. I'm like, you don't even know, bro. So like, they put limiting beliefs. They're trying to put their limiting beliefs on me. But like, if your dream's not big enough and people aren't laughing at you and they don't think you're crazy, well, then you're not dreaming big enough. So then I go back to, like I said, there's millionaires, there's billionaires in the world, there's trillionaires in the world. Like, that guy did it. Why can't I? As human beings, are we not all equal? A bum and a billionaire have the same 24 hours in a day. What they do with those 24 hours depicts their outcome in their life. So that's where I'm at with my path. I look up to successful people. Yeah, obviously my dad, you know what I'm saying? Nothing against my dad. He went, he quit school when he was like 6th or 7th grade. So he don't have education. But I'm not saying he's not smart or intelligent in his own ways, but like I've surpassed his level of thinking because he came from Greece. He's worked in a restaurant. That's all he does. That's all he knows. And if that's what he wants to do, great. You know, I applaud him for it because he does it well. But for me, being born in the 80s, so I'm a little bit between the old school and the new school. And what I mean by that is like I grew up playing outside, you know, playing freeze tag or hide and seek and chasing lightning bugs and playing on the playground.
Yeah.
And then also I'm in that era to where technology came about. So I'm kind of savvy with the computers. I understand the technology. You know, AI is a big thing now, so you kind of like got to transition into that. But I still appreciate the old school way that I was brought up. You know, so like being born in the 80s, you appreciate both things. So you kind of have to implement both of those in today's work and, you know, in the way you grow your business. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff that we have set up here, this podcast, these computers, these buttons and stuff like that. Like this crap wasn't around in the early 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if it was, it cost astronomically amounts of money. You know, so but what I'm getting at is that you know, I just look up to successful people, you know, and you gotta be able to transition into what's going on in the world right now. You know, you gotta keep up, so to speak, keep up with the Joneses. I don't even know who the Joneses are, but you know, that's a phrase that I've always heard. You know, forget the Joneses. I'm trying to surpass it. I'm going to surpass the Joneses.
I never understood why they didn't just say keep up with the Jetsons. You know, we know who the Jetsons are. They have flying cars and all that, you know.
Right. But yeah, my inspiration is just like successful people and the paths that I want to go down. So like real estate, finances, like I've always had a big desire for real estate because I like architecture, I like houses, I like, you know, waterfalls, pools, you know, you just take all this stuff in the natural world and bring it to a home, you know what I'm saying? And develop a home based around, you know, like you do your waterfalls, you do your infinity pools, you do like man caves, kitchens, you know, like outdoor stoves and grills and whatnot, fire pits. So like I have a real big passion for real estate. So not only do, you know, I want that for myself, but like, you know, if I could pass it along to somebody else, like, you know, provide a house for somebody, make a little bit of income, I'm taking notes on how to do that, you know, have some passive income. Because you can never work and or save your way to wealth.
Yeah.
So you always have to have your money working for you. You have to invest your money and make money while you sleep. Because there's not enough time in the day to work to be wealthy. You got to have that passive income. And so I know I'm going off on a tangent here, bro, but these thoughts, they come into my head like just one balloons off the other.
I can tell you're getting into something you're passionate about, so I'm just
know,
letting you go.
like,
but don't worry, I will circle it back around. Though.
Right. So like, again, to the successful people, like I've been to real estate seminars. These are the things I'm passionate about. So like I look up to the successful people that have done real estate, that have done finances. So that's the path I'm leading myself towards. And those are the guys that I look up to.
Okay. So I guess I'll just differentiate. So there is the difference of the question I asked versus the question you answered is you answered the question of who do you look up to and who do you aspire to be able to maybe cross similar milestones as and like look at them and say, I want to do that thing. Versus the question that I asked was, who do you have that is someone that is in your life who is actively seeking to, and maybe I left it broad, so I'll get more specific, that actively seeks to get a meal with you, for example, spend some time with you, challenge you man to man and say, hey, how are you doing on this? How are you doing on this thing financially? Yes. How are you doing on this thing mentally? How are you doing here spiritually? Someone that sits with you and challenges you in those dimensions.
Okay.
So do you have anyone in that capacity that's in your life right now?
My two business partners, Omar and Dwight, and you had them both on here, so I think all the viewers know.
Hey,
So,
shout out to Omar and Dwight.
so
Hey.
right. So it's funny because I'm 36, Omar's 30, so he's 6 years younger than me, and Dwight's 44, 43 or 44. Don't kill me if I added a year to your age, bro. I still love you. So like I'm in between.
Yeah.
Now we're all three in the business together. So like we sit down, we talk about business. Now Omar's a little bit younger, and there again, like me and Omar cut up and have fun. We talk stupid shit. Like we talk, I won't say kid stuff, but more like the 20 era stuff that like I used to be an adolescent in, and we cut up and have fun. But then Dwight, on the other hand, he's a deacon, so we talk more spiritually sometimes, and get more in-depth conversation. So these two guys, it's funny the way we met, man. Like I came down here and we were in the office, and they were both standoffish towards me when I first got there, because like me and Omar, and I've told Omar this before, we laugh about it all the time. Like, I first saw Omar, I was like, that guy's a douchebag. Like, and if he's watching this, he's probably laughing. You can chime in, bro. But I don't know why, bro. Like, I don't know why. But I just had this feeling like, man, I don't like that guy. You know what I'm saying? And then Dwight, he was kind of like a homebody. He didn't really open up. He was cool with everybody, but he didn't open up to everybody. So I got down here in April. So we took a trip, and I think at the end of May, start of June, and they were taking a trip. I wasn't even part of it. But then one of our coworkers self-invited herself, and I ran into her. Like I was in the hallway coming back from the bathroom, and she was jetting out of there. This was like at 4:00 in the afternoon, and we didn't get out till 6. I'm like, yo, I was like, where the fuck you going? She's like, I'm going to Dallas with Omar and Dwight. I was like, huh? She's like, yeah, I'm going to Dallas. I was like, she's like, you should come. I was like, this was a Friday. I didn't wake up planning on leaving town on a Friday morning. I was like, you know what? I was like, what's out in Dallas? She's like, I don't know, but I'm going. She's like, you should come. I was like, all right, cool. So I booked the flight like 30 minutes later.
Oh, wow.
And then I told Dwight, well, before I finish the rest of the story, she said, she's like, I'm going with Dwight. I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then she said, Omar's name. I was like, this guy. I was like, I kind of don't want to go now. But anyways, again, guys, I put myself in an uncomfortable situation. I was like, you know what? I'll deal with it. You know, I'll figure it out. So we got to Dallas, and like the whole work persona out the door. These guys were like, I looked at Dwight, because Dwight was just being Dwight. I was like, yo, you got a twin or something? Like, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, so we just opened up to each other.
That's funny.
And after that weekend is when we all three became really close. Really close, really close friends / business partners.
Yeah.
So I look up to them, and they inspire me. We keep each other on our toes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're always bouncing ideas off of each other. We always inspire. We always talk, what normal people would think is crazy talk. Like, Facebook was an idea 20 years ago.
Yeah.
23. They came out, 2001, 2, something like that. Anyways.
Yeah. Blew up on 2008, 9.
It was just an idea.
Yeah.
And some dude's making billions off of it. So that's what Omar, Dwight, and myself do. Like, we're just throwing crazy ideas out there. Like, what if this? What if that? So we keep each other on our toes. Those are the two guys. I really appreciate both of them, because when I moved down here from South Carolina, I have a cousin down here, but she's in a relationship. She lives like 45 minutes from me. She's doing her own thing. Cool. You know what I'm saying? But like, I had nobody else down here except my cousin and my little girl.
Yeah.
So like, I took a leap of faith to come down here to be closer to my little girl. And it was probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. Moving 500 miles away, picking up all your shit, renting an Airbnb, you know, and figuring it out.
Yeah.
So like, these two guys, they mean a lot to me, man. And we're going to do big things, you know, because we stick together. And, you know, those are my two people down here.
Love it, man. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to posit to you for that question of who am I? I'd actually like to open up some scripture with you and posit this as a reference for who you are. 1 second. All right, you guys. I didn't plan this out right here. So give me a second here. I'm going to bring it up. Be able to... All right. So I would like to posit this as the idea of who you are. And if you wouldn't mind, could you read that out?
Which part?
It'll be from here, verse 3, all the way to the end of, let me see. Yeah, through the end of 14.
All right. So it says, let me get a little bit closer because
Yeah.
it says, praise be to the Lord and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in the heavenly realms with every spiritual blessing in Christ. For he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. In love, he predestined us for the adoption to sonship through Jesus Christ, in accordance with his pleasure and will, to the praise of his glorious grace, which he has freely given to us in the one he loves. In him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace that he lavished on us. With all wisdom and understanding, he made known to us the mystery of his will according to his good pleasure, which he purposed in Christ to be put in effect when the time reaches their fulfillment, to bring unity to all things in heaven and on earth under Christ. In him we are also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will, in order that we, who were the first to put our hope in Christ, might be for the praise of his glory. And you also were included in Christ when he heard the message of truth, the gospel of your salvation. When you believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit, who is a deposit guaranteeing our inheritance until the redemption of those who are God's possessions, to the praise of his glory.
One time for Jesus.
Shout out to Jesus Christ.
So I know that's a long passage right there. And when you read that, what resonates in there to you?
We're one with the Lord. And that's who we are. We're made in his image. And I mean, what I get out of it, we should do unto others as we want done to ourselves, you know, and inspire people to do better and make the world a great place, because we're all destined to go to heaven, if you would. So do what's right.
Yeah.
And, you know, always lead, you know, people down the right path.
Yeah. And I also want to give you as well, all of that. And also you are first and foremost, before any job title, before any association, before anything, you are a predestined, pre-chosen, even before everything started, a truly chosen child of God in all of that, right? With all of these riches afforded to you. I like to point this out to the men that I talk to and bring on the show because it's so easy for us to get lost in all of the things that the world says we have to do, and even that the Bible says we have to do, provide, protect, serve, all these things. But the first thing where we can lay our head at and rest at night knowing every single night that we go to sleep, every single day we wake up, I was predestined to this day. I was predestined to do this thing. I'm already written in what my successes and my lessons will be. And so whenever that question comes, I just, to any man that will listen to me, I say, this is the first thing of who you are. Everything else is after this.
And let me piggyback over that. And every man that doesn't listen, shame on them. Let me say this. Let me tell you why. Because God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should listen more than we speak, so we can learn more and then be able to help people.
Hey.
Always listen, guys. Even if you think you know it all, you don't know shit. I mean, I'm gonna be real. You know what I mean? There's millions, if not there's thousands, if not millions of subjects in the world that we're ignorant about because it hasn't been taught to us. We haven't learned about it. Like I don't know the percentage of the sea has not been explored.
Oh, man.
But bro, can't nobody say nothing about what's 20, 30, 50,000 meters deep in the ocean. We're all ignorant to that. So just listen about it. Like always be open to listening. Always have an open mindset, a growth mindset. And if you're the smartest person in the room, you better run.
Oh, yeah.
Get out of that room.
Right. And I know we're coming up on 2:00, and I want to make sure to be respectful of the time. So I'll go ahead and transition to some of our closing segments here.
Okay.
So the first segment for closing is, what are 3 things from this conversation, from whether it's your experience, something that you learned in the past, something that you brought up in this conversation, what are 3 things that you want the audience to take and to contemplate on and try and implement?
Adversity is going to be the first thing. Like I said, you grow through what you go through, and there's going to be a lot of trials and tribulations in your life, and you don't know how they're going to turn out. But to have that faith and to keep going no matter what, you know what I mean? You just got to keep pushing through it. So always have that adversity, because on the other side of it, that's where you grow the most and learn the most. Don't have any fear, in the sense of, like I said, I moved 500 miles away. I was embarking on the unknown, into the unknown. And, it's brought me to where I am, and it's going to lead me to where I don't know where I'm going quite yet. But there again, I have fear of where I'm going tomorrow, but guess what? I'm still putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, man.
To be able to get there. And then the third thing is, always listen to your gut. I know we talked about, relationship stuff. And like I said, you feel with your heart, but your gut knows better than your heart. So always listen to your gut feeling, guys. I don't care how emotionally tied you are to something or someone or what you want to do. If your gut is telling you something else, listen to that.
And I would add to that as well. This is why having your community of guys is important too, is like, let your guys vet her as well. Like if you have your guys around, they're solid dudes, you can trust their judgments. If they, I kind of noticed this. This right here, bro. I don't know, man.
And I was told that by a couple people that met this person. And he's like, man, be careful. He's like, be careful.
Mm.
And he told me a couple reasons why. I was like, okay, I'll take it into consideration. But I let this lead me and not
Yeah.
this. So, luckily, I didn't get hurt because I wasn't much vested into it.
Yeah.
It was only like a couple months. But, I don't regret none of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't regret the feelings I had. I don't regret the way it happened because it's all a learning experience.
Well, it all propelled you to come here, right?
Right. So like it's just every little thing that happens to you in your life, it's a lesson whether you think so or not.
Mm-hmm.
So always have that open mindset. Again, like I said, like why is this happening to me in the sense of what can I learn from it?
Yeah.
Don't play the victim of why me?
I love that distinction right there because it's so easy to confuse them. Even in an attempt to grow from it, it's easy to say, why did this happen to me? And then to let the sad part of that linger instead of, okay, why did this happen to me? To what can I learn from it?
Right.
And that's the big break that guys have to be able to differentiate between to avoid that pit hole of just despair and apathy that comes.
Go down the rabbit hole, the wrong rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't let it happen.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Thank you. The next closing segment is you have 3 of any questions at all that you would like. Feel free to ask, and I will answer completely honestly.
So what made you start this podcast and why?
Let's see here. I would say what made me start the podcast is me seeing that there was this population of people I didn't understand. It started back with Trump. When Trump won, I said, how the heck did that happen? And then Andrew Tate took off. And then all these shows online, and I'm like, what the heck? All these things that so many people hate this thing. Why do they hate it? 1, why do some people love it? 2, let me watch some of it and see, like, let me understand the side that everybody hates. And then from watching the side that everybody hate, I said to myself, wait, these are issues that the side that I'm used to gives like 0 airtime to. As a person that used to be incredibly democratic and liberal-minded, I never cared about my role as a masculine man. I never cared about leadership. I thought relationships were 50-50. I never cared about my duties that I have or the authority of God. And so watching these shows, I saw that they cared about it and they talked about it. And then we get into the why. However, what they didn't talk about was, where's God in that picture? So they were so close to getting there, but they forgot the God part. And then also you go over to the guys who are talking about the God part. This is your Michael Knowles, your Ben Shapiro's, these figures who do think God is important, but they come at the discussion of dating from this antiquated thing where they think, oh, you can just marry and it'll be all good, not recognizing that, man, there are a lot of things that you have to have in play before you just get married at 18, 19 years old. Like, can it happen? Yes. I go to a church of people that I've seen it happen, and I see it producing good fruit. But how many people get married at a young age and then get divorced 2 to 5 years later? The highest rates of divorce are amongst that exact described scenario. And so I said, man, the guys that call out the masculine stuff, they got that part right, but no God. And then the guys that called out the God stuff don't acknowledge nothing going on relevant masculine wise. So I said, I need to step in and provide that, because as a young man, when I started to look to understand that stuff, and then when I found myself questioning why my long-term relationship ended, and the sources that I found produced that rage in me, similar to what you had for like a year, I had to balance it out with the God part. And it was a lot of inner turmoil figuring out which pieces fit where. And I would have loved a biblical masculine source to be able to go to get both sides of it, and to know, okay, this is how I should act. And this is, yes, it is important for me to lead and protect and all that, but it's important also to be filled up and to be poured into as a man myself. And yes, it's important to love my wife, as the Bible teaches. It is also important to correct my wife, just as Jesus has corrected the church, and just as, a person that understands any type of good relationship where you lead something understands you discipline in certain manners. Now, the world will tell you that you discipline with coldness or harshness, but the world emphasizes discipline, versus some people in church world, they don't really emphasize the disciplinary portion of relationships, which is an important part. But then it's like, oh, you say discipline, you talking about your child, da da da. No, 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 no. It is a soft rebuke that acknowledges something wrong done, where you then say, this was the thing you did wrong, and this is how you can be correct about it. And then you don't hold any anger about it, any resentment, and then you continue forward as the man leading. And so these were things that I had to learn how to parse, which from what traditions from that people have assumed from the Bible, what if that is correct, and what if that is tradition of man, and then what of the world understands parts but gets parts wrong. So yeah, that's my long answer to that.
That's deep. No, that's good, man. I like that. How do you wish to impact the younger generation that watches your podcast?
Man, brother, this was something crazy that I learned. And I think I mentioned it on my last episode with Dwight. But one, young men are leaning towards more conservative thoughts already as is. They're already on the same path that I was on. They're already on the same path that, me and your group of guys are all on, understanding that going with all of this fully liberal ideas is not the way to it. Now, the question is, who are they going to watch? My goal, if I could have it be to my turnout, would be for every 3 Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fits and all these other guy videos, they see just one inspired challenge podcast video. For every 3 times they see some guy dunking on a girl and saying, oh yeah, this is why I'll never get with a hoe, they say, oh man, I'm going to pray for that girl, and I'm going to keep on building myself up and keeping my mind open to a godly woman that comes into my life. So if I could just be a counterbalance to that at a 1-to-4 ratio, a 1-to-5 ratio, I'd be happy with that. I got a long way to go for that, though. I'm not even releasing short form content on a consistent basis right now.
We all got to start somewhere.
My video editor's been on me about that for the past 2 months. I'm working on it.
That's good. That's good. The last question I have, what is your ultimate life goal?
Ultimate life goal, if I had to sum it up super quickly, have this built up to a point where it can sustain my family. If my wife wants to retire, work from home, whatever the case might be, be able to impact the next generation in a significant way, being able to take care of the loved ones around me, believers or not, the loved ones around me who need a light in their world. I have a incredibly simple ultimate goal. I'll be so happy if I can achieve those things. That's it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Do for others. Sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, of course, in there having like I've realized it, man, like I've been so blessed to within the past few years have like anywhere from 6 to like 10 good men who invest their time with me, give up a lot of their personal time to hear me out with complaining and whatnot. So if I can keep that within my ultimate plan too, oh man, good to go. Done. God can kill me off at that point.
Nah, man, not yet, bro. We need you around.
Yeah, those are some great questions, man.
Appreciate
I
it.
appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you, man.
And the last segment, bringing it all home, brother, is what is something right now that you would like to either confess before myself and the audience that you need prayer about, something that you need encouragement about, or something that you are excited and you just want to praise to God about this thing? Feel free to pick any one of those three and we'll pray about it.
I'm excited about where life has brought me to this point. You know, again, I'll try and make this short, but, you know, parents coming from Greece, we landed here in the Carolinas. Growing up, you know, I wouldn't be here today. And I say here as in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be having this podcast if it wasn't for my kid's mom. Now, regardless of all the stuff that's happened between us, I still love this woman very much. But I say that like I have a love for her because she's a mother of my child.
Yeah.
I still love her as a human being. Do I want to get back with her? No. Because certain things happen that I'll never allow myself to do that. You know what I mean? But I still have love for her. Which brings me here, you know, which brings certain people into my life that I'm grateful for, that I'm thankful for. So let's pray to the path that God has put me on to be able to help the people around me that doesn't necessarily make sense to me how they became part of my life, but they're here for reasons. You know what I'm saying? So let's give a shout out to Jesus for that one.
Hey.
We can pray on that.
Awesome. So, folks, at this point, please join me in prayer for, and I know I've been saying it with a certain accent. What is the correct saying? Evangelos?
Evangelos.
Evangelos? Okay, okay. Thought I was stressing the O when I wasn't supposed to.
No, that's all good.
All right, please join me in prayer for Evangelos, folks. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we thank you, God. We thank you for this time that we've had, that we were able to come together, two men as brothers in your faith and sons of your kingdom, God. We thank you for the fact that we were able to just talk in a way that was open and truthful and honest with each other, even getting into certain places of vulnerability that may be strange to do, whether with a new face or with a new experience. And I thank you personally, God, just for Evangelos having the heart to step out and to come into a situation where he's opening himself up to that. Thank you, God, for his courage to be able to do that. It's the same courage that got him to take the leap of faith coming down to Florida with no guarantees set up and just putting one foot in front of the other, God. And we just want to celebrate this as a time where we acknowledge what you're doing amazing in his life, Lord, the people that you're placing around him, the opportunities that you're putting in his path, and the things that he's being exposed to that maybe he's never been exposed to before in the capacity that it's being exposed to him. And we just pray, Lord, that as he continues on this path that he has no clue how it's going to go or where it's going to lead, Lord, we just pray that he would lean heavily into your word and heavily into your will, God. That even with the things that he doesn't understand, he would continue to seek your meaning, continue to seek your wisdom, and seek your presence. We know, Lord, that when we seek your presence more than anything, with that presence comes the power. And so, Lord, I pray that Evangelos would seek your presence as he continues on his financial journey, on his self-improvement journey, and on his journey to just see what exactly you have for him. May his daughter be blessed, and may he come to be able to have a great situation with being able to see her on a regular basis. May there be good communication that can be continued to be fostered between he and his child's mother. And may he just be able to walk in a spirit of peace, humility, patience, compassion, and love, God. We're so blessed and excited to see what you do with the future of both of our lives. We want to pray a blessing over the audience and thank each and every single one of them that came in, gave their time, gave their attention to hear two men sit and talk, and just being able to have this experience all together, God. And we pray that you would bless them in their days as they continue about going into this weekend. Dear Lord, thank you for being a good father. It's in Jesus' name we give you these thanks and praise. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
My man.
My pleasure.
It has been a great pleasure. You guys, we need to give a hand up to Evangelos because y'all don't know this, but I put on too much deodorant before the show, and so my armpits smell weird. I know I smell bad, and this man is stuck through it. So give this man a hand, okay? I don't know what defect I have. I need to get new deodorant. I'm sorry, man.
That's all good, bro.
But thank you guys so much for watching this episode. It's been great, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to tune in. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're watching as a one-time offer. This summer, coming up in June, I'm going to be looking at bringing back some of you guys' guests that y'all have loved, whether it's been the comments I've gotten in the past, some of these people that I'm meeting that are brand new to the show. So make sure that you are locked in with there. If you have ideas of what type of content you want us to discuss specifically, do you want it to be reacting to certain things? Do you want it to be tackling certain subjects? Let me know in the comments as I prepare the schedule for this 31-day live stream, you guys. I'm excited to do this with you guys, see what exact kind of growth we can see within the channel and what type of hearts we can touch with these subjects. Thank you guys again. I know I said it like 4 times now, but enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next time here at the Inspired Challenge Podcast. Take care, everyone. And cut.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate it.